Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Project Blue live chat with Altasea. Today's a bit different because we have 3 guests instead of just one joining us, all from Boeing. If this is your first time tuning into one of our events, welcome, and we're glad you could join us. We'll be doing a Q&A conversation following their presentations, so please feel free to ask any questions you might have in the Q&A function or the chat below. The more questions, the better, because they're ready to answer them all. Now, let me introduce the panelists. First, we have Cheryl Hassan, who is the Senior Engineering Manager at the Boeing Company, and she supports the Boeing Defense Systems Autonomous Systems Division. Then we have Meghan Guerrero, who is a Boeing Systems and Integration Engineer for the Extra-Large Unmanned Underwater Vehicle program in Huntington Beach. And lastly, we have Priscilla Verduzco, who is a Test and Evaluation Engineering at the Boeing Company. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us. And if you have any questions for any of them during the chat, please feel free to send them in. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Cheryl.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate being invited to speak to everyone here today. So let me give you a little bit of background about myself and how I got to where I am today and what we do at Boeing in Huntington Beach. So first off, a lot of people probably don't realize you can come from all walks of life. I grew up in Hawaii, born and raised on the Big Island, and went to school there. And when I graduated high school, I decided, hey, what am I going to do? Where do I want to go to school? So I moved to California and went to college at the University of California, Irvine, and finished up with a computer science degree. Once I completed my degree, I started working at what today is Raytheon company. It used to be Hughes Aircraft Company. And while I was working there, worked on a number of different programs. As a lot of you know, Raytheon does do a lot of defense contracts. So can't go into a lot of detail as to the details of what we did, but I did work on some air traffic control programs, some air defense programs. After spending a number of years there, I moved on to, and actually at that company, let me add this part, I got on a fellowship program, so I was able to get my master's degree through the company. Highly recommend that if you do go out into a tech field, and the companies do offer to pay for your schooling. I got a master's degree in computer science at the USC, University of Southern California. While I was working at Hughes Aircraft, now Raytheon. After working there, I went on and worked at what is called Rockwell Collins and did a lot of in-flight entertainment systems there. So while you're flying on any of the aircrafts, flying from point A to point B, and you're watching any movies or videos, could have been one of the systems that I worked on. So slightly different, but still working with airplanes. And after a while, I decided I needed to move closer to home, to where my kids were going to go to school. So I came to work for Boeing. And so I started off at Boeing in Anaheim, which is close to home for me. And then we've moved to Huntington Beach. At Boeing, I've had multiple roles there, and it's exciting that you can do lots of different things. I was a software engineer all through my career. I probably didn't state that at my other 2 companies, and did a lot of software development with my computer science degree. After I spent a lot of time doing some engineering work, one reason or another, I don't know, I like to talk to people. I like working with employees. I went into management. So here at Boeing, I've been a manager for many, many years, and been basically managing various programs. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things we're doing currently in Huntington Beach. Huntington Beach is a defense systems location. So we do a wide range of things that unfortunately I can't go into a lot of details because of the nature of what we do, but I can talk at a high level. And if there are questions later, I'd be glad to answer some of them. We work a lot of defense contracts where there could be some missile defense contracts, some aircraft contracts. A lot of you hear of Boeing and you think we work with airplanes, and we definitely do. But we also, as they've mentioned, we work a lot of underwater things, which are new probably to a lot of people. You don't realize that we do go underwater as well. We don't always work up in the sky. We're known for our planes and our satellites, but the organization that I'm working with, Autonomous Systems, so we work with unmanned underwater vehicles. And so some of these gals are going to talk about the specifics of what they're doing, and you'll see some pictures. So maybe we can flash up one of the pictures of the vehicles that we've been working on. So in the unmanned underwater vehicle, you'll see that it's kind of cool. It's really big and it goes underwater. And these gals will talk a little bit more about some of the things they've been doing, but I manage an engineering team that works with these vehicles, anywhere from, electrical systems to mechanical systems. We have software, obviously, to control the vehicle when it goes underwater, and some of the details of, how we control the vehicle. So it's an exciting time. It's really big. You wouldn't think, but it's unmanned. No one's in there. No one's going to be controlling it inside of the vehicle. We are just managing it from land. Okay, so that's the focus of what our organization is doing, but Huntington Beach does do other types of things. We do acoustics on our P-8 aircraft that flies, across, and that's how that aircraft was trying to look for one of the planes, unfortunately, that had gone down in the Malaysia area. So Huntington Beach can do a lot of things, and we have locations across the country, in Seattle, in the Midwest, on the East Coast, in Herndon. So excited about what we do. And like I said, if there's any more questions people have, I'd be glad to answer them, but we can probably go on to either Priscilla or Megan.
Hey everybody, this is Priscilla Verduzco. I want to thank Alta-Sea for inviting me to speak today. Happy and excited to speak with all of you. So as was mentioned, I'm a test and evaluation engineer at Boeing. I work primarily on extra-large unmanned underwater vehicles. And my role here has actually varied quite a bit in just the 3 years I've been here. But first I'll start with how I got here. I was born and raised in Ventura County, California, from a not so well-off family. At one point, I was moving about once or twice a year just because we couldn't afford rent. I was homeless for a little while, and, at a time it felt like I wasn't ever going to be able to do anything, right? And then high school came around and I realized that I was really interested in the culinary field. So I started taking some culinary arts classes, was determined to go to culinary school, was offered a scholarship from a culinary school. And then senior year of high school, was in a car accident, broke my neck, couldn't move at all for a while. And I was like, okay, well, this isn't going to work out because the scholarship was dependent on me cooking at some show, and I couldn't move around, so obviously I couldn't do that. And so I stopped and I started thinking, and my senior year I started taking pretty much all AP classes, AP English, AP Physics, AP Math, just to see what else I really liked that was out there. And I realized that I loved AP Physics. And so I started thinking and realized I wanted to be an engineer. I wasn't sure what kind of engineer, so I just thought, okay, what's a general kind of engineering? And decided to go with mechanical engineering. So as I mentioned, my family wasn't very well off. And so I had to start applying for scholarships, right? And you can't just apply to 1 or 2 or 3. I must have written probably 50 to 100 different scholarship applications and essays, just hoping to get at least one, because if I didn't get that, I wouldn't be able to go to school. So I got accepted into all the colleges I wanted, but I knew I wanted to go to Cal Poly Pomona because that was a very hands-on school, and I love learning things hands-on. So the day was coming that I had to tell Cal Poly whether or not I was going to attend, and I still had not heard anything from any of the scholarships. I got runner-up on a bunch of them, but didn't actually win. And then I'm about to call Cal Poly when the phone rings, and I got a call from Naval Sea Systems Command through Great Minds in STEM that I won a full ride scholarship, as well as being accepted into their internship program that provided a paid scholarship every summer. And so I was, of course, ecstatic, and I was able to go off to college. And so I was working while I was in college. That was how I was able to keep going to school. And I loved mechanical engineering. I loved being able to know how things worked. And I graduated, and I continued working with Naval Sea Systems Command, where I worked on a variety of things from designing calibration equipment for weapon systems to actually working on Navy destroyers and cruisers, working on those weapon systems and also their electronic cooling water systems. And so I just got used to being out in the field and just basically working on exactly what I was helping design and make modifications on. And aside from that, as a hobby, I was also on a race team. So I really love cars and the automotive industry. And so anytime I wasn't at work, I was pretty much working on a race car, and eventually became crew chief of the race team. But then we ended up disbanding after a while. And, you know, after working for NAVSEA for a while, I started realizing that the culture there wasn't necessarily as inviting to younger women. And I tried shifting that within the organization. And I do have to admit it was difficult being on Navy ships that are predominantly dominated by, I guess, a certain way of thinking. So I luckily was able to overcome that. And luckily, when I hear from old coworkers, they say, oh, you know, this sailor is asking, oh, where's that lady? She taught me everything I know about this system. And so once I felt like I had made my mark there, I thought it was time to shift to something that I think was also more challenging. And so I applied to the Boeing company, and all I saw on the job requisition was autonomous systems, right? So I thought, okay, I'm going to be working on drones, right? On aerial drones, UAVs. And so I apply, I get a call saying, hey, we want to interview you. And I think Cheryl was actually one of my interviewers. And when they described the position, they said XLUUV. I was like, that doesn't have an A in it. There's no aerial in there. And they described that they make underwater drones. And I was just mind blown because I didn't even know Boeing had anything underwater. And so I, of course, was super excited and was even more excited when Boeing made the offer. And so obviously I accepted. And since then, I've been doing all kinds of stuff, from writing requirements for what our vehicles need to be designed to actually going out in the field and testing and operating these drones and watching Megan be an awesome swimmer. So now I'm more in charge of cost and schedule for our programs. I also write test procedures and test cases, and am trying to coordinate testing in various other locations. So sorry that went off for a little bit, but yeah, that's what I do. And I think Megan's going to go into a lot more detail about her awesome job.
All right. Can everybody hear me all right? So awesome. So my name is Meghan Guerrero, Alt-Sea. Thank you very much for having me. This is an awesome opportunity. I've been working out in the field for so long. I feel like I never really get to meet and hang out with fellow engineers that are working on the same program even. So anyways, I'll give a little bit of background on me. I'm from a Navy family, so I moved around a lot, but I ended up graduating high school in Esperanza, Yorba area, Orange County. And from there, my thought process with switching and going into college for engineering was I just like to build things. And that kind of steered me in the direction. Math came kind of okay to me, so I figured why not give it a shot. So I applied to a few colleges. I originally wanted to go to USC for soccer, ended up having ACL meniscus issues and costing my career with soccer. So I switched to mountain biking, got a mountain biking scholarship for college in Durango, Colorado. And that pretty much fueled my tuition there. So yeah, so I ended up in Durango, graduated with a general engineering degree there. And in my time there, I participated in a few nonprofit Engineers Without Borders types projects in Southeast Asia. And that's kind of what really kept me going with wanting to pursue the engineering dream. So I realized when I was working out in Myanmar, which for those of you who don't know where that is, that's Southeast Asia, kind of near Thailand and Cambodia, Laos, etc. And we worked on building and implementing gravity-fed water systems to rural communities that were lacking safe and accessible water. So my first year kind of working with them, I did assessments. So we went to different villages, made assessments, worked with the village to see what they could what they were comfortable with. And then from there, after doing a few assessments, we decided to go in and implement these water systems. So my senior project to graduate was to come up with the cost logistics, recruit fundraising people to help pay for the project, and then an implementation team that was willing to go out for a month and go out and implement this thing. So we did that, and then I graduated from there. And then after I graduated, I did a little bit of climbing. So I did mountain rescue and backcountry wilderness rescue stuff. And then after I finished my exploring phase, realized I wanted to get a real job and pursue engineering. So I saw that they had remote field testing for the Boeing company. And they wanted people that had experience in the ocean, experience with scuba diving, and I had my advanced and rescue certs, and that kind of steered me in that direction towards remote field testing. So now I work and have been for the last 3 years since I hired on, and Cheryl actually was one of my hiring managers as well. I work out in the field for a couple weeks on end, and then I come back and relax and then go back out. And we pretty much follow the vehicle on a support ship, and we live there, we work there, we eat there, we shower and do all of those things. So yeah, so that's pretty much my summary and kind of how I ended up here and working with Boeing.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for sharing. So I have a quick question. Well, not really quick at all, actually. So could each of you kind of take us through a day in the life? I know Megan's experiences at sea, sometimes not. So what does a day in the life look like for you guys?
Well, so I guess I can start. Very different than the two ladies here. So for a lot of you young folks, obviously, you'll probably have a day in a life similar to either Priscilla or Megan or someone else. But over time, several decades later, you can strive to have tasks. And I can describe, if people are interested in going into leadership management, it starts out obviously in an engineering field. And like I mentioned earlier, I was a software engineer with a computer science degree. So I was doing a lot of code development, which is what a software engineer would be doing. But as a manager and a leader, it becomes important that you relate to your people and that you lead the team. And that's something I hope I'm doing well. I look for feedback. I spend a lot of time in meetings and statusing a lot of things and trying to understand where the issues are so that I can help resolve some of the issues. I count on people like Priscilla and Megan and other people on the team to keep me abreast of what's going on so that I can work with the leadership team that we have in place to help resolve this and to meet our schedules. So a little bit different, it's something over time. Some people get into leadership after 5-10 years. Some people may take 20 years. It just depends. But for me, that's a lot of it. Some people go, oh, I don't want to, have to be in meetings all day and have to deal with other people's problems. Okay. I mean, and maybe, that isn't for you. And listening to what these gals do, you'll probably get a better feel, at least in the early part of your career. If there are people that have been working in the industry for a while, then you can make a decision if you want to go into leadership and management, or stay in the technical field and become a chief engineer of a program where you're directing technically what a lot of your team will do. So there's many different roles. So I'll let these gals kind of explain what they do.
All right. So my day-to-day can vary in one of maybe 3 different ways. On a simple day, I'm usually writing test procedures. So whenever you're designing something, right, there are requirements for it. Like say you want to build a submarine, there might be a requirement that says, the vehicle must be able to dive to 1,000 feet, right? And from that requirement, you can get a few others that say like, okay, to survive to 1,000 feet, the vehicle has to have a pressure rating, or it has to be watertight, just various requirements like that. And how do you know that the vehicle is actually meeting those requirements? You test for it. And so in order to make sure that you're meeting that requirement, the test has to be run a very specific way. And so what I do is I look at the requirements we have and the objectives we have, and I write test cases based on those requirements. And that's one possibility for one of my days. Another possibility is doing test planning and scheduling. Just today, for example, this morning, I had a meeting with one of our customers because we're planning on moving somewhere else. And so I was leading a discussion about, hey, to move from here to there and to be able to test in this place, what do we need? And so I was running through, our people need to be able to do this, your facility has to be able to do this, the vehicle has to have this kind of environment for us to run our tests there. And so running those kinds of meetings is another possibility. And then option 3 is running actual tests. So one of the tests I like to run is pressure testing. Boeing actually has a pretty humongous pressure chamber that I think can go up to like 50,000 PSI. And for reference, I think when you bite down, I think that exerts about 100 PSI. So, it's hundreds times more pressure than that we test our components to sometimes. And so I run the test. So I make sure that, our part is attached in the pressure chamber. And then I, basically hit the run button and hope that nothing explodes. And luckily nothing ever explodes because we write our requirements well, and we write our tests well so that we make sure that nothing can go wrong. So yeah. And as I mentioned, I used to do field testing. I haven't done that recently, but that day-to-day was great too. And Megan can go into more detail about that.
Yeah, so day-to-day for me is pretty much, if I'm on the ship, I'll just kind of go over that. It's kind of all over the place. We don't have a really big fixed schedule because, like what Priscilla was saying, she comes up with test procedures, and a lot of people kind of go over what we want, like the vehicle to do. and what we want to prove can like will work and what doesn't work. So I go out and take those test procedures, and we go out to sea, and then we try to demonstrate or show that we can do certain capabilities. And so when we're on the ship, there's not really like, oh, you wake up in the morning at 6 a.m. and you eat breakfast. It's kind of like if there's a 24-hour op going on, you could be on shift from 2 to 4 a.m. Priscilla can speak to the many nights that we've had where, we're up, from 10 p.m. till 4 a.m., kind of just checking up on the vehicle and making sure it's still down there and it's doing okay. But for the most part, it's a lot of, like, for me as a diver, swimmer, if there's any sort of rigging that goes on. So when we go out to sea, we'll tow the submarine from port, and then we'll take it out there. And when it's ready to go autonomous and do everything by itself, we go and we deploy it. So we take off all of the ropes and make sure it's configured hardware wise to go out and do stuff on its own. So a lot of my job will be in the morning before we launch. We'll go out and get suited up, put on our fins, snorkels, masks, and jump in the water. And our start times can be 2 a.m. They can be, 10 p.m. and they could be 6 in the morning. So it kind of just depends on what the plan is for the day. Yep, there's a picture of me jumping off the boat there. So what's really nice is I've always been terrible at grocery shopping, cooking, all of those things. So it's really nice on the boat because we have a cook and he is amazing. And he'll set everything up from doing the grocery shopping, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and any snack you could possibly want. It's amazing. So that was the best thing I could have asked for first job coming out of college, was somebody that was still going to help me with my meals. So we go out to sea. A lot of our work has been out of San Pedro, right over by, we always see the Trump golf course, and then we work out by Catalina too. And that's kind of where we've been working. And I gotta say, it's really nice to have your view out the back deck instead of an office every now and again. So, but anyways, yeah. So when we go to sea, that's kind of what it looks like. It's going to swim out there, deploy it, and then when we're done, we'll recover it and we'll rig it up so it's ready to be put back on tow. And then we do a lot of kind of verification. So we'll take all of the data from the vehicle, and then we kind of cross-reference that with the test procedures to make sure that we're meeting the criteria that we've negotiated previously. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we have a couple questions coming in, and it ties in very nicely to everything you guys just talked about. So we have Millibeth, who is from a group of 7th and 8th grade girls from Charleston, South Carolina, in a STEM program they're listening in today. And they had a question about what are the examples of things that the sub is used for on the ocean floor or in the ocean. So I'm not sure who would be best to field that, but that's the question.
So I'll attempt that one, and then I'll let these girls add on to it. So the vehicle or the sub, and you saw a picture of it, can be used for multiple missions. And when I say missions, there's a lot of things that the submarine can be asked to go do. We can put a payload on there, which means we can put items onto the payload and it can go do things. And when I say that, it's what we call proprietary. It just means that you have to have a security clearance with the government, because most of our contracts here, as they have alluded to, is with the Navy. So we cannot talk about it in an open forum here, but there are lots of missions that we can send the vehicle. It could go down to the bottom of the ocean to survey what's down there. It could leave things down there if we choose to put what we call a payload, which means we can put, not that you'd put suitcases, but you could put things down there and then you could leave it down in the ocean. So there's many different things that, and we have different contracts with the Navy of what we call missions that the vehicle could be sent on. I hope that answered your question. And Priscilla or Megan, we do have to be careful with how we answer this, but if there's anything more you want to add to it, please feel free.
little technical difficulty on my end real quick. Sorry about that. So the next question is for Priscilla. Priscilla, you've in your bio, you said that you worked with the Boeing Future U program, which brings hands-on and virtual STEM activities to K through 12. Can you tell us a little bit about that program, what you did for it, and yeah, any details about that?
Sure. So Boeing Future U, as you mentioned, is an effort with Discovery Education to try to bring fun and simplicity basically to all the very technical stuff that we do here. So Future U already has a Mars and outer space program where you can actually like do a VR experience as if you're on the surface of Mars, and you can do various activities on there. However, that was the only one that existed. And so I and a few others were approached because they wanted to create an underwater one. And so what the team and I did is we actually developed a curriculum of activities that kind of show students what kind of problems we have to solve when it comes to designing submarines. And I'm actually going to throw a link in the chat where you can see some of those activities. And aside from curating those activities, we actually developed a whole virtual reality experience as if you are the Echo Voyager going through the ocean and diving deeper and deeper into the ocean. And my involvement with that was I actually voiced, I do the voiceover for that virtual reality experience. And I gotta say, it was super fun working with everybody. And I learned a few things myself about the various layers of the ocean and the various creatures that you can find as you're going through those layers of the ocean. So it was really fun putting together those courses and activities and exercises. And the beauty of those activities is that you can do most of them, if not all of them, with things you can find in your own home, like Tupperwares and popsicle sticks, Q-tips, little film cartridges. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so this one is for Cheryl, from Marcus. So share what you can. How much power does these blank on? How much power does it use, and how long can it stay out? Are there resident missions yet? Could wave power be used to recharge?
So I can't tell you how much power is on there, unfortunately, but there's a lot of power. You can see the size of the vehicle. I do recommend, if people are interested in our vehicle, you can Google Echo Voyager, and you'll get to see a lot of data that is publicly advertised, right? So, and what was the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
Is could wave power be used to recharge?
You know, that's a really good question. I don't think we've really thought about whether wave power could be used to charge it, but it is something we could probably look into. The vehicle does go out into different parts of the ocean, and so, and you know, Megan, I don't know if you are familiar with whether wave power could be used. We're not using it today, but you know, I'm going to take that note down. Good thought. You know, I mean, we're always looking for suggestions. And Priscilla, if you have any ideas either.
So I think it was Marcus that asked that question. If you look up Wave Glider, it's not a submarine, but Liquid Robotics, which is a subsidiary of Boeing, actually does have an autonomous vehicle that runs off of wave power, if you want to look that up. That's Wave Glider.
And believe it or not, guys, thank you, Priscilla. I'm glad you mentioned that, because they are testing Wave Glider in my hometown on the Big Island of Hawaii. So not sure why I'm not working it right now, because I can go back home. But anyway, it is another project that I'm not too familiar with because I haven't worked the program. But good point, Priscilla. That is a program that is definitely using some wave It's just, I think the vehicle's a lot smaller. Good question.
My next question is for Megan. You mentioned in your opener that you did some humanitarian work in Myanmar. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and why you were inspired to take a trip there?
Yeah. So I worked with, my school had a chapter, and that's kind of what got me into it. One of my professors is a really big humanitarian teacher, and she did a lot of work in her professional career with that stuff. And she was one of my biggest inspirations. So whatever she did, I thought was cool. And then I wanted to follow in the footsteps. So she worked with community partners throughout the small town of Durango. And they pretty much did a lot of the fundraising to get supplies in Myanmar, in country, and all of the transportation for supplies, and to working with the community, getting flights, etc. So she kind of was like asking if I was interested in leading one of the projects on my own. And I was looking for a senior STEM project to graduate, and I thought that was the perfect combination. A teacher I love, working for to improve the well-being of other people, and engineering. So we kind of came up with an idea of going out and looking at other communities that in areas of Myanmar that hadn't really been accessed as far as humanitarian work goes. They only opened their borders in 2012, so a lot of parts of Myanmar are still very, very rural. They don't have electricity, they don't have water, running water. I mean, it's like you're going back like 100 years. It's crazy, some of these villages. So we ended up tagging up with a village leader that had recently complained of a lot of sickness, illness, deaths due to unexplained reasons. And so we went and did an assessment of the water and their water source. And, it's just, it was not good. So we went back to Durango, did some fundraising, and then got a few students that were coming through the ranks to participate and volunteer their time to go out there, get trained on how to build water systems, and then go out there and build it for a month. So we worked in this village called Kundon, and we pretty much just did about 5 miles worth of pipeline. We built a giant water tank that was about 12 feet by 14 feet. And it seems pretty straightforward, but the one thing you have to keep in mind is they don't have power tools. So everything we had to do was with shovels, all of the cement, concrete mixing, that was all shovels, and manual labor, people carrying rocks up a hill, basically. So that was the most laborious part, and trying to figure out logistics with a country that doesn't speak English. So that was the other one. But yeah, it was great work, and it was a great way to get me involved and really inspired by what you could do with engineering.
Awesome. All right, Priscilla, this one's for you. So you mentioned you were into culinary school, you were into race cars, and now you're engineering, these massive ships, submarines. Very different industries. What's been your favorite so far, and have you been able to carry anything over? I know Megan said she doesn't like grocery shopping or cooking, and so it's been great for her to be on board, but have you found any overlap?
Oh my gosh. So in terms of overlap, there actually is, for each of these things, culinary, working on cars, and being an engineer, you have to have a lot of capacity for creativity, right? You have to be willing to think outside the box, to create new things, right? You can't just keep making peanut butter jelly sandwiches forever, as good as they are. But I mean, I still kind of do all of that. I cook whenever I can, and I actually just got a new house with 2 ovens, so that's been exciting. I can cook a pizza while I bake cookies. So that's been great. But it was also really nice working on the boat with the amazing chef that Megan talked about, probably the best food I've had, even though it was on a boat and on paper plates. And in terms of working on cars, sometimes you have a really cramped space in the engine bay and you have to think of creative ways to get to that one bolt that you can't get to unless you spend like 6 hours pulling stuff out. But in terms of my favorite, like I don't know if I have a favorite. I like them all for different reasons, and they're all luckily things I can do almost whenever I want. So in terms of working on cars, I do still work on my own car. And in terms of cooking, I already mentioned that. And then it's nice to be able to have them as hobbies, basically, while engineering full time.
Awesome. Pineapple on pizza or no?
I'll take it if it's Hawaiian.
Right on, right on. So this one's for you, Cheryl. What excites you the most about, having a part in creating these vehicles that are exploring the ocean? Forgive the pun, but taking Boeing to new depths?
It's, as you can tell, right? I'm quite a bit more senior than the other two gals, and it has been a real pleasure and an enjoyment in my career. It's the third company I've worked at. And most people, like I mentioned earlier, think of Boeing and always think of airplanes, right? Your 747 that's going to take you to New York City or to Paris. And to be able to work at a company that we do that, but we also do other fun and exciting, creative type of work, and being able to go down in the water. And I'm not as physically active as these two gals are, but having grown up in Hawaii, I've been surrounded by water. Water's always been my passion. I love the water. And so to be able to work at a company and a division and a project that is dealing with the water. I remember when I brought on Priscilla and Megan. Megan's like, "We're gonna take you on the boat, Cheryl. We're gonna take you out on the boat." And I'm like, "Oh man, you're gonna take this old lady out on the boat." But to be able to go out there, and it was so inspiring for me to see, and it was important as a manager, as a hopeful leader to the group, to see where we're going to go, to take the vehicle down. Now, I can't go out in the water like Megan can, but I did go out on the vehicle, the support boat, as to what situation they're living to and what they're going to have to go do. And the excitement of seeing a group of people, some of them very young, like these gals, we've got senior people as well, come together to create something that's really never been done before. Everybody knows of a submarine, but you've got people on the submarine, right, that are controlling it. This vehicle, no one's in the vehicle. It's autonomous. And we have to be sure that we are comfortable engineering-wise, that it isn't going to crash to the bottom of the ocean or hit the waves or take out a cruise ship. We have to be comfortable that we have done our engineering due diligence, and the excitement of seeing what we've done. I've been out there, I've seen the videos, I get the reports back of what the team has done and what we've done so far. And we've got many more things to do and exciting things in front of us. So it's been fun. I can't say enough about, you want to find something you enjoy, something you have a passion for, and this definitely has hit that button for me.
So I'm going to open up that question to both of you, Priscilla and Megan. What excites you most about this? What gets you up in the morning?
I'll go first. I kind of cut out there. Do you mind repeating the question? I got the end of it.
Just what excites you the most about what you're doing, you look at the ocean, what gets you up in the morning?
Yeah. I love it just because it's so unique. My job, I had no idea that Boeing did underwater submarines. I had no idea that I could dive in the water as an engineer. That's the kind of stuff in college you're like, wow, that sounds really fun. I wish that was a real job. So for me, it's incredible that my engineering it's very in line with who I am, which is just not very traditional 9-to-5er. So it's so cool to go out there and especially to work on something that's like the first of its kind, really. I mean, the thing is incredible. And when you stand next to it, I mean, in pictures, you can see it and you can say, wow, that's big, 51 feet. But when you're actually working on it and you see it out there and it does some incredible things on its own, it blows me away. And to be able to be a part of a program that's just, on the front line, the frontier of, autonomous underwater exploration, it's pretty great. And, everything's, space exploration is great. We've already explored everywhere on Earth. It's really cool that, there is another frontier, which is the subsea life. There's so much to check out. And this is basically, on its way to doing that.
Yeah, I pretty much have to mirror everything Megan just said, especially the whole, we've already spent so much effort on space when we haven't even finished exploring our own planet, right? I think I read somewhere once that I think only 3% of the ocean floor has actually been explored and seen. And so, I mean, what's the other part? What is down there? And there could be answers to so many of our environmental issues just down there buried in the ocean. And being part of a program that can help us explore what's down there is just really inspirational to me. And as I mentioned in my last job, it was working on like Navy ships, right? Those things have been around forever. They're the peanut butter jelly sandwiches. Whereas this, as Megan said, we're at the forefront of unmanned underwater vehicles, and it's really exciting to be part of a program like this. And I just love the challenges that come with it as well.
Awesome. So we get this question every live chat, and it's one of my favorites just because it kind of less serious, kind of more fun. Ryan asks, what is your favorite ocean? Is it Atlantic, Pacific? Are you of the one ocean mindset where it's all the same? I'll let anyone go first.
I'll go first this time. I gotta say the Pacific Ocean, but mostly that's probably because it's the only one I really know. A lot of my scuba diving experience has been along the coast of California, and there's, the ocean is massive. So unfortunately, I'll never in my lifetime be able to see everything that I'd like to see that you can with scuba diving, but there's some beautiful stuff along this coast, so I gotta say this one.
I gotta agree with Megan. I love the Pacific too, but I also have that same bias. I, of course, don't have as many dives under my belt as Megan does, but I do also scuba dive occasionally, and it's always just been in the Pacific. And our waters are so beautiful, especially when you have really good visibility and you can see all the way down to the ocean floor, and you can see all the fish, all the reefs, just everything down there. And it's just spectacular to me. And the water's warm.
Okay, well, so it is boring, and I am probably going to say the Pacific because it's probably the only one I've been in, actually. One would think if I grew up in Hawaii, I could scuba dive, and maybe someday I will, because these girls are going to get me to scuba dive. I do a lot of snorkeling. I grew up snorkeling. I've seen almost on all the islands in Hawaii. I've been down there snorkeling and, seen the sea turtles and of course the warm water. But, one of these days, I think I'm going to actually try to venture into the ocean on the Atlantic side. And just so that I can say I've been in there and I've tried to do some snorkeling or some sort just to see, is the water clear? I have no idea. Are there fish that you could actually see just by snorkeling, not scuba diving? Because I don't know that answer. Good question.
Yeah, it's Pacific's the overwhelming favorite, but we've gotten some. One was the Arctic Ocean, which I can't imagine how that would be your favorite when it's pretty darn cold. So we had a question from Christy, and it's what are some fun facts that you can share about the deep sea that we don't experience as your average beachgoers? If you could, do you have any one or two fun facts for us that you discovered through work that just we wouldn't know?
I have one that I learned from doing the voiceover. And I guess some people don't know that there are underwater vents down way deep in the ocean floor that expel various chemicals like sulfur, and there are actually organisms that thrive off of those. Otherwise, to any other organism that would be extremely toxic. And there are organisms that survive off of that very type of environment. And because of that, scientists are actually trying to take those organisms and study them closer to see if we can apply that for other, medicinal or technological types of advancements.
We have a question about the Echo Voyager. So again, Cheryl, let me know how much you can answer about this. How far can the Echo Voyager travel without the support ship? And how long can the drone remain autonomous from the support ship?
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I'm not sure if Priscilla or Megan does. Priscilla's got requirements here, and Megan, we do have to be careful how much we say, but it can go a long way. We are in testing right now. For example, we tried, and Megan, you can correct me how far we got, but I know as an example, we were trying to go out of San Pedro all the way down to San Diego. If that gives you an idea of how far we are trying to go. Now, whether I can't go into details of whether it can go that far easily or if it can go a lot further. Obviously, we're going to want to get it so that it can go as far as we need it to go. A lot of it's going to be based on battery power, fuel, etc. Anything to add, Megan?
No, I'll just echo kind of what you said. As far as going out to sea, we've done a few ops, but a lot of the time we'll follow that thing right next to it. So I guess it's kind of difficult to speak to a lot of the stuff. Yeah, so I'll just end it on that. I'll echo Cheryl.
Awesome. Okay, this one's more less scientific. What's your favorite memory that you have gained through your job?
That's a good one. Okay, I'll take this one first. So having been one that has had multiple jobs, multiple jobs, right? I will have to say, and I'm not saying it just because I currently work at Boeing, because like I mentioned, I worked at some of our competitors, right, at Raytheon and at Rockwell. But one of the memories has been, and these girls alluded to it, in that in my role, since I'm a manager, I'm a hiring manager and responsible for ensuring that we can get our tasks done. It's really amazing. I've been on this program for, has it been like 3 years or something? To watch as I've hired some of these people, some of them obviously more senior, some of them out of school, like some of these gals, and to see how much they've grown and how passionate they are about it. You know, I have kids of my own that are not that much younger than them. And to see that, you know, they went to school, studied hard, found something they enjoyed, navigated through it all, and have learned the ropes. That you come in with the inherent skills, but then you have to adapt to the program and the tasking that are assigned to you. And to see that growth in the team, and then to see what we've accomplished has just been phenomenal for me. to know that you can put a team of people together that come from all walks of life. It doesn't matter. You have to have a passion for it. You have to work hard for it. And if you do, companies like the Boeing company can utilize your skill sets. We can build a team together and accomplish great things, as you've seen. You want to go next, Priscilla?
Yeah, I was having trouble unmuting. Yeah, so my favorite memory, I think by far has to be, almost any of the days spent on the ship. It was a small group of 5 to 8 of us. And really, when you spend days on a boat with the same people day in, day out, you eat with them, you work with them, they pretty much become your family. And you really develop a sort of camaraderie with all those people, and you just have so much fun while you're out there. And when you have the type of people that work very well together like that, and it doesn't have to be stoic, serious, staring at your computer screen all day. Like, you can have fun while you're working, and those days on the boat are definitely an example of that. But at the same time, we're taking these leaps in this sort of technology. It's just any memory that makes me realize like how unique of a job I have, and how I guess how lucky I am to have this kind of job where I work with like-minded people.
All right. I feel like I lived the dream. So I gotta say, this is probably one of the most incredible opportunities to be a part of. I really enjoy living and working with people, and being in the same environment where you go out to get the job done. You take care of it and then you relax. That kind of environment is really nice for me. So echoing Priscilla there, when you're working in an environment like that, like she said, people become your family. Did I freeze?
We can still hear you, I think. Oh, maybe not.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we are.
Did I freeze?
For a minute, yeah.
Sorry about that. Again, echoing Priscilla, those people are your family. So it's really fun to, have an all-in investment when you're out there. So I will say that my best memory is probably, when we go out there and spend time with those people. On a more superficial side note, it was really nice one time when I was diving. We had really good visibility and I saw a whale, which was pretty awesome to see in person. So yeah, that was great. So that's me.
Okay, one final question. We're almost out of time, but we have a lot of students watching this from South Carolina to the South Bay here in California. What advice do you have for young kids, students, women that are interested in going into these fields, or that heard something in here that they piqued their interest? What advice do you have for them?
Okay, I'll go first, and then Priscilla and Megan can go next. It's my one advice is follow your passion. Follow your passion. As you can see, it can come from all angles. And try different things. Don't let the fact that it sounds hard. There aren't a lot of women in this field. I'll let you know that when I got my first job out of school 30 plus years ago, I was one of 15. I was the only woman out of a group of 15 engineers. And I didn't let it stop me. I worked hard. I did what I knew I loved to do, what I was good at doing. And my career has taken off from there, right? And there are so many different avenues that you can go into. But my one advice is don't let anything stop your dream.
Yeah, I'll continue on that note. Yeah, going into a technical field, and especially as a woman, you will unfortunately face hurdles. As women, we're making great progress in removing some of those, but there will be hurdles. And it's important to keep just jumping over them or just running right through them. And not only being a woman, but like you're going to encounter all kinds of hurdles depending on what your background is, right? I came up I came up poor, hearing no, you're gonna see hurdles, whether it be financial, whether it be academic, even. Like I know a few people that are just star engineers who had, like a 2.5 or a 3.0 GPA before, and now they're amazing. Just because it might take you a little longer or a few more tries, it doesn't mean you can't do it. You just have to keep going and keep pushing and take people's no's and throw them back at them. When someone says you can't do it, just prove them wrong. Show them exactly why you can.
Yeah, that's I'm with you there on that one, Priscilla. Yeah, to echo her as well. There are inherently some stuff that you're gonna run into with being a female in this kind of industry. I'll echo Cheryl. I was in a small college for sure, but I was the only female student going through for my first 2 years in the engineering department. So it's just something that you run into when it's a male dominated field in the industry. I think I froze again.
You're good. We can still see you and hear you. Oh, maybe she did.
Oh, yeah, now you're frozen.
Well, there
I'm
you go.
back. I'm sorry about that, guys. I'll keep it short. Stick with it. Again, like Priscilla said, just keep going with it, and whatever. Find something that you enjoy doing, and it doesn't have to be your dream job. And like that kind of idea doesn't really. I don't think it exists. I think you just you go through different things and you keep trying new things, and eventually you find something that really piques your interest. But you got to keep trying.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much, and thanks to the Boeing company and Priscilla, Megan, Cheryl for joining us today. This was awesome. We got through a lot of their questions, and we just want to thank you guys again for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to see this recording of the live chat or any others, or sign up for more, I put the link in the chat at altacy-project-blue.org, and you can find it all there. Again, Priscilla, Megan, Cheryl, thank you guys so much for joining us. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you.